There comes a time in every life when the noise begins to fade. The applause grows distant, the headlines lose their importance, and what remains are the faces that once filled the heart. For decades, Lee Majors was one of television's most recognizable stars, a rugged hero admired by millions. Yet behind the fame stood a man whose journey through love was far more complicated than any role he ever played. Some women believed in him before the world knew his name. Others shared his success, his struggles, and his dreams. But after a lifetime of romance, heartbreak, and reflection, one iconic relationship continued to occupy a place no one else could reach. This is the story of the loves that shaped Lee Majors, and the one he never truly forgot. The first woman who believed in his dreams. Long before the bright lights of Hollywood, before television audiences knew his name, Lee Majors was simply a young man trying to build a future from uncertainty. Success was still a distant dream, and the road ahead offered few guarantees. During those early years, one woman stood beside him when there was little fame, little money, and no promise that his ambitions would ever become reality. Her name was Kathy Robinson. The two met while Lee was still finding his place in the world. Like many young couples of their generation, they shared hopes that seemed larger than their circumstances. Life was simpler then. There were no red carpets, no magazine covers, and no photographers waiting outside. There were only two young people trying to create a life together. In 1961, they married and began building a family. Their son, Lee Majors Jr., soon became the center of their world. For a brief moment, it appeared that the future would unfold exactly as they had imagined. Yet dreams often demand sacrifices that are difficult to recognize in the beginning. As Lee's ambitions grew, so did the challenges surrounding them. The entertainment industry required long hours, endless uncertainty, and a willingness to pursue opportunities wherever they appeared. For many young families, such pressures can quietly create distance long before anyone notices it. The same was true here. By 1964, the marriage had come to an end. There was no dramatic Hollywood scandal. No sensational betrayal filled newspaper headlines. Instead, it was the story of two people whose lives gradually moved in different directions as adulthood unfolded around them. Years later, Kathy's place in Lee's story remained significant for one simple reason. She had known him before the fame. She had seen the young dreamer long before the world saw the star. And perhaps there is something uniquely powerful about those who believe in us before success arrives. Sometimes the people who know us first leave footprints that time can never completely erase. Silence often remembers what history forgets. The loves he found on the road to stardom. After his marriage to Kathy Robinson ended, Lee Majors found himself standing at a crossroads familiar to many young men chasing a dream. He was no longer the struggling husband trying to build a future. Hollywood had begun to notice him, and opportunities were finally appearing. Yet success often arrives with a hidden cost. As careers rise, relationships are forced to compete with ambitions that rarely slow down. During these years, Lee's life became a whirlwind of auditions, television appearances, and growing recognition. Along the way, a few women entered his story, each representing a different chapter in his journey toward stardom. Among them was actress Patti Chandler. Their relationship unfolded during a period when Lee was still establishing himself in the industry. Neither could have known exactly where the future would lead. They shared moments during a time of transition, when Lee's life seemed to be moving faster with each passing year. Like many Hollywood romances, their relationship existed in a world where schedules, opportunities, and changing circumstances often made permanence difficult. Another notable chapter involved a young actress named Sally Field. At the time, both were rising stars with promising careers ahead of them. Their relationship was brief, but it reflected something important about Lee's life during those years. He was surrounded by talented, ambitious people who were all chasing versions of the same dream. The excitement of possibility filled the air, yet stability remained elusive. Looking back, these relationships were not defined by dramatic heartbreak or lasting resentment. Instead, they represented a season of searching. Lee was becoming the man the public would soon recognize, but he had not yet found the relationship that would define his life. There are periods when people are not searching for a destination as much as they are discovering who they are becoming. For Lee, the years between his first marriage and his greatest romance were exactly that kind of journey. And just beyond the horizon, a woman was waiting who would change everything. Sometimes the road to true love begins with lessons learned from loves that could not last. The blonde beauty who stole his heart. By the early 1970s, Lee Majors was no longer an aspiring actor hoping for a break. He had become one of television's rising stars, admired for his confidence, charm, and rugged screen presence. From the outside, it appeared that everything was finally falling into place. Yet fate still had one surprise waiting for him, a young blonde actress whose arrival would change the course of his life forever. Her name was Farrah Fawcett. There was something unforgettable about Farrah from the moment people met her. Her beauty attracted attention instantly, but those who knew her often spoke about something deeper, a warmth and kindness that made others feel comfortable around her. For Lee, she was more than another Hollywood actress. She quickly became the woman who brought excitement, hope, and companionship into a life that had already experienced its share of disappointment. As their relationship grew, they became one of the most admired couples in the entertainment world. In 1973, they married, and fans embraced them as a picture of Hollywood happiness. Together, they seemed to represent a dream many people still believed in. Two successful people building a life side by side while supporting one another's ambitions. For a while, that dream appeared real. Then, something extraordinary happened. Farrah's career exploded. Her role in Charlie's Angels transformed her into an international sensation almost overnight. Suddenly, her face was everywhere. On television screens, magazine covers, posters, and advertisements across the world. She was no longer simply Lee Majors' wife. She had become a star in her own right. Many husbands might have struggled with such a dramatic shift. Publicly, Lee often expressed pride in Farrah's success. Yet, the realities of fame are rarely simple. Two careers moving at full speed can place enormous pressure on even the strongest relationship. Still, during those early years, none of that mattered. Because before the headlines, before the pressures, and before the heartbreak, there was love. And for Lee Majors, Farrah Fawcett became the woman against whom every future romance would inevitably be measured. Some people enter our lives quietly and leave behind an echo that lasts forever. The family he hoped would last forever. When Lee Majors' marriage to Farrah Fawcett came to an end, it marked the close of one of Hollywood's most celebrated love stories. For many people, such a loss might have inspired bitterness or regret. Instead, Lee continued moving forward, carrying both the memories and the lessons that came from loving someone the entire world seemed to admire. Years later, another woman entered his life. Her name was Karen Velez. Unlike the whirlwind attention that surrounded his relationship with Farrah, Lee's connection with Karen represented something different. He was older now, wiser perhaps, and less interested in the glamour that once defined Hollywood romance. What he seemed to want most was stability, a place where love could grow quietly away from the constant demands of celebrity life. The couple married in 1988, beginning a new chapter built around family rather than headlines. Together, they welcomed 3 children into their lives, including a daughter and twin sons. Fatherhood once again became one of the most important parts of Lee's world. For a time, it appeared he had found exactly what he had been searching for. The excitement of youth had been replaced by the responsibilities of parenthood. Instead of chasing dreams, he was helping shape the dreams of his children. The priorities of life had changed. Success was no longer measured only by television ratings or career achievements, but also by the moments shared around a dinner table and the memories created at home. Yet even the strongest hopes can face unexpected challenges. As the years passed, difficulties emerged within the marriage. By 1994, the relationship had ended in divorce. Once again, Lee found himself confronting the reality that love does not always follow the path we imagine. Still, Karen's place in his story remained important. She gave him something no amount of fame could provide: a growing family and precious years filled with the joys and responsibilities of fatherhood. Not every love story is remembered because it lasts forever. Some are remembered because of the lives they help create, and sometimes a family becomes the lasting gift left behind when a romance reaches its end. The woman who brought peace to his later years. By the time Lee Majors entered the later chapters of his life, he had experienced nearly every side of love. He had known the excitement of young romance, the pressures of fame, the responsibilities of family, and the disappointment of relationships that did not last. Many people reach that stage carrying emotional scars. Some stop believing that lasting companionship is possible. But life still had one more surprise waiting for him. Her name was Faith Majors. When Faith entered Lee's life, the circumstances were very different from those that had surrounded his earlier relationships. The frantic race toward stardom was over. The need to prove himself had faded. He was no longer the young actor chasing opportunities or the television icon living beneath constant public attention. Instead, he was a man who understood the value of quieter things. The couple married in 2002, beginning a partnership that would endure through the years that followed. Unlike the highly publicized romance he once shared with Farrah Fawcett, Lee's relationship with Faith unfolded with far less drama and far more privacy. That difference mattered. There is a certain kind of love that arrives later in life. It is not built on excitement alone. It grows from patience, trust, companionship, and a shared understanding that time itself is precious. For many couples, those qualities become more valuable than grand gestures or public admiration. Faith appeared to offer exactly that. As the years passed, she remained by Lee's side through milestones, celebrations, interviews, and the quieter moments that never make headlines. Together, they built a life away from much of the chaos that had once surrounded Hollywood relationships. Yet even in a peaceful chapter, memories never completely disappear. The woman who never left his heart. By the age of 87, Lee Majors had lived a life that few people could imagine. He had known success, heartbreak, family, friendship, and the unique pressures that come with spending decades in the public eye. Along the way, several women played meaningful roles in his journey. Each relationship left its own lessons. Each chapter helped shape the man he eventually became. Kathy Robinson believed in him before fame arrived. Patti Chandler and Sally Field shared moments from his years of becoming a star. Karen Velez gave him a family and some of the most important responsibilities of his life. Faith Majors brought companionship, stability, and peace during his later years. Each woman mattered, yet when people look back on Lee Majors' story, one name continues to stand apart from the others: Farrah Fawcett. Perhaps it was the timing. Perhaps it was the intensity of their connection. Or perhaps some loves simply leave a deeper imprint than others. Together, Lee and Farrah experienced a chapter that felt larger than life. They were young, successful, admired, and seemingly destined to conquer the world side by side. Millions watched their story unfold, believing they were witnessing a Hollywood fairy tale. But the most powerful love stories are not always measured by how long they last. Sometimes they are measured by how long they are remembered. Even after their marriage ended, Farrah remained an important part of Lee's life story. There was no bitterness that defined their legacy. Instead, there seemed to be a lingering respect and affection that survived the passing years. When Farrah passed away in 2009, Lee spoke with warmth and sadness, reminding many people that some emotional bonds never completely disappear. And perhaps that is the answer hidden within this story. As we grow older, many of us begin to understand that love is rarely a simple story. Some people arrive for a season. Some help us become who we are meant to be. And a fortunate few leave footprints on our hearts that remain long after the years have passed. Lee Major's life reminds us that success, fame, and admiration may shape a public legacy, but it is often the people we love who shape the private one. Perhaps that is why his story continues to resonate today, not because of Hollywood glamour, but because it reflects something deeply human: the search for connection, companionship, and a love worth remembering. If you enjoyed this journey into classic Hollywood history, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and of the memories that matter most.